Every year, as October fades into its final night, something ancient awakens beneath the laughter. Streets fill with costumes and laughter, but behind every mask, there's a story. A truth people would rather forget. Halloween has always been more than a celebration, it's an invitation. A night when the walls between our world and the other grow thin enough for things to slip through. Some call it tradition. Others call it superstition. But every Halloween, somewhere in the world, something happens that defies logic, something caught on tape, something witnessed, something never explained. A missing group of friends. A figure caught on camera. A house that lights itself. They sound like tales meant to scare children, until you see the evidence. This is the night when truth hides behind the mask of fiction. Every scream, every shadow, every whisper you're about to hear, comes from a story that was once real. Some ended quietly, others never did. These are 5 true Halloween horror stories, and one of them is still happening. Before we begin, a warning. Each of the stories you're about to hear has been verified, by witnesses, by police reports, by footage that was never meant to be seen. They're the kind of stories you tell once, and then wish you hadn't. Stay until the end, because story number 1 isn't just unsettling, it might make you afraid of your own home. And if you think you can tell which one is still happening, you might want to think again. A handprint smeared across a foggy mirror. A figure standing in the woods, motionless. A mask lying on a doorstep, dripping rain. A house lit from within, though it's been empty for years. A flickering screen showing faces that shouldn't be there. 5 stories. 5 nights that changed lives forever. Which one would you never want to live through? Tell me in the comments, if you can finish watching. October 31st, 2011. A group of college seniors from Ridgeway University decided to throw one last party before graduation. It wasn't supposed to be big, just a few friends, a little music, one final Halloween in the old fraternity house before it was torn down. They called it the farewell party. The building, known on campus as Carter Hall, had been abandoned for months after a fire scare earlier that year. Power was supposed to be cut off. Windows boarded. But somehow, that night, the lights were on. According to the first witness, a student walking past around 9 p.m., music was blasting from inside. He saw silhouettes dancing in the windows. At least 20 people. But no one had been granted access to the property since July. As the night went on, those inside said it started like any other Halloween party. Loud music. Cheap beer. Everyone in costume. But then, strangers began to arrive. No one recognized them. No one saw them enter. They didn't speak. They just joined the crowd, moving in rhythm with the music. At first, people assumed they were friends of friends. Until someone noticed, they weren't drinking. They weren't blinking. They were just watching. An hour later, one of the students, Mark Jensen, tried to record a video on his phone. But every time he pointed the camera toward one of the strangers, the screen glitched. When he finally looked up from the phone, one of his friends was gone. They searched the rooms, calling names. The crowd seemed smaller. Yet the music kept playing, louder than before. Someone cut the power switch in the basement, but the lights didn't go out. The speakers kept humming. That was the last video sent from inside. The next morning, campus security responded to noise complaints. They found Carter Hall locked from the inside. Windows sealed. But the music, still playing. When authorities finally forced the doors open, there was no one there. No footprints, no cups, no signs of struggle, just rows of empty rooms and the faint smell of smoke. The stereo system was still plugged in, looping the same song. Police logs confirmed it. The building's power grid had been disconnected a week before Halloween. Neighbors still claim they hear faint music coming from Carter Hall every October 31st. A melody no one recognizes. A beat that never fades. If you were walking past an abandoned house, and you heard music coming from inside, would you go in? October 31st, 1998. The Dawson family lived on a quiet street in a small Midwestern town. Like every Halloween, they decorated the porch, carved a pumpkin, and filled a bowl with candy. Neighbors described the Dawsons as ordinary, polite, friendly, the kind of family who never locked the door until bedtime. That night started like any other. Kids in costumes ran from house to house, laughing under the glow of porch lights. Around 7:30, Mr. Dawson answered the door to a figure wearing a simple white mask. No words. Just silence. He assumed it was a teenager playing a prank. Dropped candy into the bag, closed the door, thought nothing of it. But 10 minutes later, the bell rang again. Same mask. Same figure. Still silent. Mrs. Dawson stepped forward this time. She tried to make a joke, asked for the costume's name, but the figure just tilted its head. She said it felt like it was staring through her. An hour passed. More children came and went. Then, around 9, the doorbell rang again. Mr. Dawson looked through the peephole. The masked figure stood closer this time. Not moving. Not holding a bag. They turned off the light and decided to end the night early. But at midnight, the doorbell rang once more. When Mr. Dawson opened the door, the porch was empty. Only the white mask lay on the welcome mat, wet from the rain. They thought it was over. Locked the door, went to bed, uneasy but relieved. But the next morning, Mrs. Dawson noticed something strange. Muddy footprints leading from the porch, into the living room. They trailed across the carpet, around the sofa, and stopped beside the hallway mirror. There were no prints leading back out. No sign of forced entry. Police came, searched the entire house. Nothing was taken. Nothing was broken. Just the footprints, and the faint smell of rain. A few days later, Mr. Dawson checked the old security tapes, trying to make sense of it. The footage showed him and his wife handing out candy, laughing, talking to children. But when he fast-forwarded through the night, he froze. For hours, the masked figure could be seen standing motionless in the far corner of their living room. Behind them. Watching. The Dawsons never saw him enter. And the moment they turned off the porch light, the figure stepped closer, just out of frame. The police kept the footage. The family moved out a month later. The new owners say that every Halloween night, the doorbell rings, and when they open the door, the mask is there again. Dry. Waiting. If you heard a knock at midnight, would you dare check the camera footage? Halloween night, 2007. In a small town outside Portland, four friends, Evan, Rachel, Dylan, and Casey, were having a movie marathon at Evan's house. They'd just finished carving pumpkins when they noticed a plain white envelope on the porch. No postage. No handwriting. Just a single word written in red marker, "Watch me." They thought it was a prank, something left by classmates. Inside was an unmarked DVD. No labels. No scratches. Just that same message burned onto the disc in black ink. When they played it, the footage was shaky and grainy. A camera moving slowly through a neighborhood at night. At first, it didn't seem like much, until one of them recognized a street sign. It was their street. The camera panned past each house, then stopped. On Evan's house. The video zoomed in on the window they were sitting behind. Same couch. Same light. The same angle they were watching from. It wasn't a recording from tonight, it had been filmed days earlier. They debated turning it off, but curiosity always wins over fear. They kept watching. The video showed the camera slowly entering the house. Down the hall. Into the living room. And then, on screen, they saw themselves. Sitting. Watching the tape. At first they laughed, thinking it was some clever edit. But the laughter faded when one of them pointed out something else. The version of them on the TV wasn't moving in sync. The image lagged, then blinked. A few seconds later, the version on screen stood up. Evan muted the TV, but the audio continued, a soft knocking sound. 3 knocks. Then silence. They looked toward the front door. No one was there. No movement outside. Just empty darkness. They turned back to the TV, and on the screen, the camera was now facing the front door from inside their house. Rachel tried to eject the disc. It wouldn't come out. The screen began to flicker with quick flashes, frames of their faces distorted, eyes blackened, mouths open as if screaming. The neighbors later reported hearing the TV on until after 3 a.m. The front door was left wide open. When police arrived the next morning, the disc was still spinning inside the player. The footage now ended with a still image, the empty living room. The couch. The flickering lamp. No trace of the teens was ever found. The only sound on the tape's final seconds was a faint whisper, looping beneath the static. If you found an unmarked DVD on your doorstep, would you watch it? October 31, 2014. In the small rural town of Ashbrook, 4 friends decided to film a Halloween challenge for their YouTube channel, a 24-hour survival vlog in what locals called the Hollow Woods. The forest had a reputation, unexplained noises, missing hikers, stories whispered around campfires. To them, it was perfect for clicks. The group, Jake, Mia, Connor, and Riley, packed their cameras, tents, and a few cheap flashlights. They started filming just after sunset. The first few clips were playful, joking about ghosts, daring each other to wander deeper into the trees. But as the night stretched on, their tone began to change. According to the recovered footage, the first strange sound came around 11:27 p.m. A voice, faint, distant, almost blending with the wind. It called out Jake's name. He laughed at first. Thought one of the others was trying to scare him. But minutes later, it called again, this time closer. And this time, it said all 4 of their names. The group argued on camera. No one admitted to doing it. The nearest road was nearly a mile away, and their phones had no signal. Yet the voice kept repeating their names, calm, patient, and wrong, like it was learning how to say them. They decided to pack up. But the camera showed something they hadn't noticed in the moment, movement between the trees. Tall. Still. Watching. At 12:41 a.m., the footage becomes shaky. They're running, flashlights swinging wildly. The voice now sounds above them, below them, everywhere. Then, the camera drops. The lens faces the campfire. You can hear one of them whispering, "Don't move." Then, the flashlight beam flickers across the trees, and freezes. Behind them, barely visible between the trunks, stood a figure. Over 7 feet tall. Thin. Perfectly still. No face. just a faint outline swaying in the wind. The video cuts to black for several minutes. When the image returns, it's dawn. The campfire has burned out. The tent is torn open. The camera lies on its side, recording empty woods. The only sound is soft breathing near the microphone. The police found the camera the next morning, near the trailhead. The group's car was still parked by the road. None of the four were ever found. The final frame of the footage shows the same clearing, empty, and then, for half a second, the camera tilts. A face fills the screen. Pale. Eyes open wide. Lips move close to the mic and whisper, "You're next." If you heard your name whispered in the dark, would you stay in the woods to find out who's calling? October 30th, 2020, the small town of Maple Hollow. A quiet place where everyone knew everyone, until one morning, an abandoned Victorian home at the edge of town suddenly came to life. Locals woke to find it completely decorated, jack-o'-lanterns glowing on the porch, fake cobwebs draped over the gate, paper ghosts swaying from the trees. And through the cracked windows, the faint sound of old phonograph music played on repeat. At first, people thought someone had finally moved in. But no cars were parked nearby. No deliveries. No footprints in the dust. Yet every night, the candles in the windows flickered, perfectly timed, as if waiting for an audience. The police were eventually called in after someone swore they saw shadows moving inside, silhouettes of people walking past the windows. 2 officers were dispatched to check it out. When they arrived, they found every door locked, from the inside. The house was sealed tight. Yet the music still played, muffled but constant. So one officer, Mark Delaney, pried open a cellar window and crawled in. His body cam recorded everything. At first, nothing seemed wrong. Until he reached the main hallway. The decorations were far too detailed, portraits of families who once lived there, pumpkins carved with names instead of faces, and candles arranged in perfect circles on the floor. When Delaney entered the living room, he froze. There were 5 mannequins standing around a table, dressed in old-fashioned clothing. Men, women, even a small child. Their faces were pale wax, eerily lifelike. A faded photo on the wall confirmed what he already feared: they were the former homeowners. All 5 had died in that house on Halloween night, decades apart. The mannequins were arranged as if frozen mid-celebration, paper hats, fake wine glasses, one even holding a lit candle. Delaney whispered into his radio, voice shaking, "Dispatch, there's nobody here, but the lights, they just turned on by themselves." The footage ended abruptly. When the backup arrived 10 minutes later, the front door was still locked. They broke it down and found the house completely dark. No music. No mannequins. Just Delaney's body cam lying on the dusty floor, still recording. They combed every room, every hallway. No sign of Delaney. No trace of anyone else. 3 days later, the house lit up again. Decorations back in place. Candles glowing. This time, there were 6 mannequins around the table. One of them wore a police uniform. Locals say the house redecorates itself every year now. Each Halloween, a new figure appears among the mannequins. Smiling. Waiting. So tell me, if you walked by that house on Halloween night, and saw the lights come on, would you dare step inside? Each Halloween, we tell these stories to feel the thrill of fear, to remind ourselves that the darkness outside is only make-believe. But sometimes, fear finds a way to make itself real. Authorities never found the students from the fraternity house. The masked man was never identified. The teenagers who played the cursed DVD were never seen again. And the camera recovered from the haunted woods? It still plays, every Halloween night, around the same hour they vanished. The Victorian house remains under watch. Locals say new decorations appear every year, even though the property's been sealed since 2020. And maybe, that's the thing about Halloween. It isn't just the one night we wear masks. It's the one night, when something else wears us. And to this day, no one knows which story was fiction, and which was a warning. If you're still watching, you've already heard your story begin. Like, subscribe, and tell us, which one will keep you awake tonight. If you made it this far, you're braver than most. Which story haunted you the most? Comment below. And remember, Halloween never really ends.